For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On the morning of June 12, 1990, 30-year-old Wesley Young, a geologist and amateur cave explorer, left his home in the Texas Hill Country for a solo spelunking trip near Devil's Sinkhole. He never returned. Despite an extensive search of the vast cave system, Wesley vanished without a trace. For 33 years, his family lived with the agonizing uncertainty of his fate, clinging to the hope that he might still be alive, lost somewhere in the labyrinthine depths. Then, in the spring of 2023, hikers made a gruesome discovery: a single bone fragment, seemingly out of place in the rugged terrain. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Wesley Young, a story of obsession, betrayal, and a secret buried deep beneath the surface of the Texas Hill Country. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. Wesley Young was a man who found solace in the quiet grandeur of the Texas Hill Country. A geologist by profession, he possessed an insatiable curiosity about the earth beneath his feet, a passion that extended beyond his professional life and into the depths of the region's intricate cave systems. He was a devoted husband and father, a man whose quiet demeanor belied a deep love for his family and a thirst for adventure. His weekends were often spent exploring the subterranean world, rappelling into the darkness armed with his headlamp, maps, and a sense of wonder. Devil's Sinkhole, a natural wonder known for its sheer drop and vast network of unexplored caverns, held a particular allure. On a crisp autumn morning in 1990, Wesley prepared for what he anticipated would be a routine solo spelunking trip. He meticulously packed his gear, ensuring he had enough supplies for a day-long exploration of the caves surrounding the sinkhole. He informed his wife, Sarah, of his plans, outlining his expected return time. A kiss goodbye, a promise to be careful, and he set off, disappearing into the rugged landscape that he loved so much. When Wesley failed to return as planned, a sense of unease settled over Sarah. She initially dismissed her worries, attributing his delay to the unpredictable nature of cave exploration. Perhaps he'd encountered a new passage, a fascinating geological formation that had captivated his attention. But as hours stretched into the night, her concern intensified. She contacted local authorities, triggering a search and rescue operation that would quickly escalate into a full-scale investigation. Teams of experienced cavers, park rangers, and volunteers descended upon Devil's Sinkhole, their headlamps cutting through the darkness as they meticulously combed the area. They called out Wesley's name, their voices echoing through the vast chambers, but only silence answered. The initial theories focused on the inherent dangers of spelunking. He could have become disoriented in the labyrinthine passages, his headlamp malfunctioning, leaving him stranded in the pitch black. Perhaps he had fallen, sustaining an injury that prevented him from finding his way back. The complex cave system, with its numerous unexplored areas, presented a formidable challenge to the search teams. Days turned into weeks, and the hope of finding Wesley alive dwindled with each passing hour. Friends and family gathered at the search site, their faces etched with worry and disbelief. They shared stories of Wesley's adventurous spirit, his meticulous planning, and his deep knowledge of the caves. These recollections clashed starkly with the grim reality of his disappearance, fueling a growing sense of despair. The search continued, but the vastness of the cave system and the lack of any concrete clues made the task increasingly difficult. As time wore on, the active search was eventually suspended, leaving Wesley's fate a haunting mystery, a chilling echo in the heart of the Texas Hill Country. The search for Wesley Young presented a unique set of challenges. The cave system surrounding Devil's Sinkhole was a vast and intricate network of underground passages, some well-mapped, others completely unexplored. The terrain was treacherous, with narrow crevices, sharp drops, and unpredictable rock formations. Experienced cavers understood the risks, but even the most seasoned explorers could become disoriented or trapped in the darkness. Members of the original search teams recounted the difficulties they faced navigating the complex network of caves. The darkness was absolute, broken only by the beams of their headlamps, which often failed to penetrate the thick shadows. The air was heavy with humidity, and the silence was broken only by the dripping of water and the occasional rustling of bats. Even with the aid of maps and specialized equipment, the search was slow and painstaking. The official police investigation began alongside the search and rescue efforts. Detectives interviewed Wesley's family and friends, meticulously piecing together his last known movements. They examined his equipment, searching for any clues that might shed light on his disappearance. They explored various possibilities, including foul play, although the lack of any evidence of a struggle or forced entry made the scenario seem unlikely. The investigation, however, was hampered by the very nature of the environment. The cave system offered few opportunities for forensic analysis. There were no footprints to follow, no tire tracks to examine, no witnesses to question. The lack of evidence, coupled with the inherent dangers of the caves, led investigators to focus on the theory of accidental death or getting lost within the system. This conclusion, while seemingly logical, provided little comfort to Wesley's family. The uncertainty surrounding his fate, the lack of a body to mourn, left a gaping wound in their lives. The local community rallied around the young family, offering support and assistance. Search parties were organized, volunteers canvassed the area, and fundraisers were held to support the ongoing efforts. But as weeks turned into months, and the search yielded no results, the initial wave of hope began to fade. The media attention surrounding the case gradually diminished, and the story of Wesley Young, the geologist who vanished into the depths of Devil's Sinkhole, began to slip from public consciousness. The official investigation, while never officially closed, became less active. The case files were archived, the leads grew cold, and the mystery of Wesley's disappearance remained unsolved, a lingering question mark in the heart of the Texas Hill Country. Years passed, blurring the sharp edges of grief into a dull, persistent ache for Wesley's family. The vibrant memories of his laughter, his quiet strength, his love for the natural world, began to fade, replaced by the gnawing emptiness of his absence. Birthdays and holidays were marked by a bittersweet mix of celebration and sorrow, a constant reminder of the empty chair at the table, the silent echoes in the halls of their home. Sarah, his wife, carried the weight of his disappearance with quiet stoicism, clinging to the hope that one day, somehow, she would learn what happened to her husband. She kept his memory alive, sharing stories of him with their children, ensuring that he remained a tangible presence in their lives. The case of Wesley Young's disappearance gradually drifted from the headlines, overshadowed by newer tragedies, other mysteries that captured the public's fleeting attention. The Texas Hill Country, with its rugged beauty and vast, unexplored wilderness, had witnessed its share of missing persons cases. Local journalists recalled similar stories, tales of hikers who strayed from marked trails, of spelunkers who ventured too deep into the earth's embrace, never to be seen again. These cases, often unsolved, served as a grim reminder of the unforgiving nature of the landscape and the fragility of human life. Law enforcement officials echoed the difficulties of solving missing person cases in such remote areas. The vastness of the terrain, the lack of witnesses, the unpredictable elements, all conspired to create obstacles that often proved insurmountable. Cases like Wesley's, where there was no physical evidence, no indication of foul play, were particularly challenging. They became cold cases, filed away in archives, the details slowly fading with the passage of time. Despite the fading public interest and the dwindling hope of finding answers, Wesley's family refused to give up. They clung to the belief that somewhere, hidden within the vastness of the cave system or the whispers of the local community, lay the key to unlocking the mystery of his disappearance. They continued to cooperate with law enforcement, providing any information they could, however insignificant it might seem. They organized their own searches, revisiting the area around Devil's Sinkhole, hoping to find a clue that had been overlooked, a piece of evidence that would finally bring them closure. Their persistence, fueled by an unwavering love and a desperate need for answers, kept the faint ember of hope alive, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable loss. They waited, year after year, for a breakthrough, a glimmer of light in the darkness that had enveloped their lives for so long. 33 years had passed since Wesley Young vanished into the earth. The relentless march of time had softened the sharp edges of grief for his family, but the unanswered questions remained, a constant, dull ache in their hearts. Then, on a sweltering summer afternoon in 2023, two hikers, exploring a remote section of the hill country near Devil's Sinkhole, stumbled upon something that would shatter the silence and reignite the investigation into Wesley's disappearance. Partially buried amongst the rocks and scrub brush, they discovered a small, weathered bone fragment. Its unusual shape and color immediately caught their eye. Uncertain of its significance, they carefully photographed the fragment and its location, then contacted the local authorities. The Comal County Sheriff's Department responded to the hikers' call, recognizing the potential importance of the discovery given its proximity to Devil's Sinkhole. The bone fragment was carefully recovered and transported to the Travis County Medical Examiner's Office for forensic analysis. The initial examination revealed that the fragment was human, a femur, and showed signs of significant weathering, indicating it had been exposed to the elements for a considerable period. The discovery, while unsettling, offered little in the way of concrete identification. However, advancements in forensic science over the past 3 decades provided investigators with a tool that had not been available in 1990: DNA analysis. The bone fragment, though small and degraded, contained enough viable DNA to be tested. The sample was sent to a specialized laboratory, where it was compared to DNA profiles in national databases and, crucially, to samples provided by Wesley's family years earlier. Weeks later, the results came back. The DNA from the bone fragment was a match for Wesley Young. The news, while confirming their worst fears, brought a strange mix of emotions for his family. Relief that they finally had some answers, coupled with the crushing realization that Wesley was indeed gone. The identification of the bone fragment, however, was just the beginning. A closer examination of the bone by a forensic anthropologist revealed something even more disturbing: a series of distinct, parallel marks on the surface of the femur. These marks, too precise to be natural, were identified as saw marks, indicating that the bone had been deliberately cut. The discovery transformed the case from a missing person investigation to a potential homicide. Dr. Emily Carter, the forensic anthropologist who analyzed the bone fragment, explained the significance of the saw marks. "These marks are consistent with dismemberment," she stated. "The precision and uniformity of the cuts suggest the use of a sharp, fine-toothed saw, likely a surgical or specialized cutting tool." The revelation sent shockwaves through the small community and brought a renewed sense of urgency to the investigation. The quiet geologist who vanished into the earth had not simply gotten lost or succumbed to the elements. He had been murdered. The question now was, who killed Wesley Young, and why? The discovery of the saw marks on Wesley Young's femur dramatically shifted the focus of the investigation. No longer a missing person case, it was now a homicide, a cold case resurrected after 33 years. Leading the renewed investigation was Marshall Hannah Wells, a seasoned investigator known for her meticulous approach and unwavering dedication. Partnering with her was Professor David Sterling, a renowned geologist and expert in the unique geological formations of the Texas Hill Country. Their combined expertise would prove crucial in unraveling the decades-old mystery. The saw marks on the bone fragment became the central piece of the puzzle. The precision of the cuts indicated a deliberate act, a calculated attempt to dispose of the body. This chilling realization forced investigators to re-examine the original case files, searching for any overlooked clues, any details that might have seemed insignificant at the time but now held potential significance. Witness statements were reviewed, timelines reconstructed, and the initial search and rescue efforts were scrutinized. The focus shifted from the natural dangers of the cave system to the possibility of human intervention. New investigative techniques, unavailable in 1990, were now employed. Ground-penetrating radar was used to scan the area around Devil's Sinkhole, searching for any other remains or buried evidence. Forensic anthropologists meticulously examined the recovered bone fragment, hoping to glean further information about the manner of death and the type of saw used. Investigators also began exploring potential connections between Wesley's disappearance and any illegal activities that might have been taking place in the area at the time. Wesley's work as a geologist, his intimate knowledge of the region's subterranean landscape, became a focal point of the investigation. Marshall Wells and Professor Sterling worked in close collaboration, their respective expertise complementing each other. Wells brought her investigative experience and knowledge of criminal behavior to the table, while Sterling provided invaluable insights into the geological context of the case. He understood the intricacies of the cave system, the hidden passages, the potential locations where a body could be concealed. Their partnership, forged in the crucible of this complex investigation, became a driving force in the pursuit of justice for Wesley Young. The original investigation had focused primarily on the possibility of an accidental death, but the discovery of the saw marks forced investigators to consider a different narrative. They began to re-interview individuals who had been questioned in 1990, hoping that the passage of time might loosen memories or encourage witnesses to come forward with information they had previously withheld. The focus of these interviews shifted to Wesley's professional life, his relationships, and any potential conflicts he might have been involved in. His work as a geologist, his access to sensitive information about land use and resource extraction, became a key area of inquiry. The investigation expanded beyond the immediate vicinity of Devil's Sinkhole, encompassing the wider community and the complex web of relationships within it. Investigators delved into local land disputes, environmental concerns, and any instances of illegal activity that might have been occurring in the area at the time of Wesley's disappearance. They explored the possibility that Wesley had stumbled upon something that someone wanted to keep hidden, a secret that cost him his life. The renewed investigation, fueled by the discovery of the saw marks and the unwavering dedication of Marshall Wells and Professor Sterling, began to unearth long-buried secrets, slowly piecing together the fragments of a decades-old puzzle. The renewed investigation into Wesley Young's death began to yield results when Marshall Wells and Professor Sterling turned their attention to Wesley's professional life. As a geologist, Wesley had been involved in several environmental impact assessments in the Texas Hill Country. One particular project, a proposed luxury resort development near Devil's Sinkhole, caught their attention. The developer, Quinn Powell, had a reputation for cutting corners and pushing the boundaries of environmental regulations. Wesley's detailed geological surveys of the area had revealed something disturbing: evidence of illegal toxic waste dumping in the caves beneath the proposed resort site. This discovery posed a significant threat to the local ecosystem and could have derailed Powell's lucrative development project. Professor Sterling, with his expertise in the region's geology, recognized the significance of Wesley's findings. The caves beneath the proposed resort acted as a natural aquifer, supplying water to the surrounding communities. Contamination of this water source would have devastating consequences. Wesley's meticulous documentation of the illegal dumping, including samples of the toxic waste and precise GPS coordinates of the dumping sites, provided irrefutable evidence of Powell's criminal activity. He had presented his findings to the relevant environmental agencies, and an investigation had been launched. This investigation, however, was still in its early stages at the time of Wesley's disappearance. Marshall Wells, recognizing the potential motive, began to investigate Quinn Powell more closely. Financial records revealed a series of suspicious transactions between Powell and several waste disposal companies known for their questionable practices. Witnesses who had worked on the resort project recalled heated arguments between Powell and Wesley regarding the environmental impact of the development. One former employee, speaking on condition of anonymity, recounted overhearing Powell threatening Wesley, saying he would make him disappear if he didn't stop interfering with his project. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place. Wesley's discovery of the illegal dumping, Powell's financial motive, and the witness testimony pointing to a direct threat all converged to paint a damning picture. Marshall Wells and Professor Sterling theorized that Powell, fearing exposure and the potential ruin of his development project, had ambushed Wesley during his spelunking trip. He had then dismembered the body using a saw, likely the same one used in the construction of the resort, and scattered the remains throughout the vast cave system in an attempt to conceal his crime. Confronted with the mounting evidence against him, Quinn Powell initially denied any involvement in Wesley's disappearance. He claimed to have barely known Wesley and dismissed the accusations as baseless. However, under persistent questioning by Marshall Wells, and presented with the irrefutable evidence of his illegal dumping and the witness testimonies detailing his threats, Powell's carefully constructed facade began to crumble. He eventually confessed to killing Wesley in a fit of rage, claiming that Wesley had been blackmailing him. He admitted to dismembering the body and scattering the remains in the caves, hoping they would never be found. He provided details about the location of the saw he had used, which was subsequently recovered and confirmed to be consistent with the marks on Wesley's femur. Powell's confession, corroborated by the physical evidence and witness testimonies, provided the final, chilling chapter in the story of Wesley Young's disappearance. The geologist who had sought solace in the quiet depths of the earth had become a victim of the very secrets he had unearthed. The trial of Quinn Powell captivated the nation, a chilling tale of greed, deception, and cold-blooded murder. The prosecution presented a compelling case, meticulously laying out the evidence against Powell. They highlighted Wesley's discovery of the illegal toxic dumping, the financial motive, the witness testimonies detailing Powell's threats, and his eventual confession. Powell's defense team attempted to portray him as a successful businessman wrongly accused, a victim of circumstantial evidence. They argued that Wesley's death was accidental, a tragic consequence of his risky hobby. However, the weight of the evidence, coupled with the compelling testimony of Marshall Wells and Professor Sterling, proved too much to overcome. The jury, after days of deliberation, returned a guilty verdict on all counts, first-degree murder and multiple counts of environmental crimes. Quinn Powell was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The resolution of the case brought a complex mix of emotions for Wesley's family. Relief that justice had finally been served mingled with the profound grief of their loss. The opportunity for closure, however, was tempered by the horrific details of Wesley's death. Sarah Young, his wife, spoke at Powell's sentencing hearing, her voice trembling with a mixture of sorrow and anger. She spoke of the devastating impact of Wesley's disappearance on her family, the years of unanswered questions, the constant ache of his absence. She spoke of his love for the Texas Hill Country, his passion for exploring its hidden wonders, and the tragic irony that the very landscape he cherished had become his final resting place. She condemned Powell's callous disregard for human life and the environment, his greed and ambition that had led to such a senseless act of violence. Following Powell's conviction, authorities launched a comprehensive effort to locate and recover the remaining fragments of Wesley's remains. Using information provided by Powell, along with advanced search and rescue techniques, teams of investigators and forensic anthropologists meticulously combed the cave system surrounding Devil's Sinkhole. The search was arduous and emotionally taxing, but their efforts were eventually rewarded. Over several months, they recovered additional bone fragments, scattered throughout the vast network of caves. These fragments, along with the initial femur discovered by the hikers, were painstakingly pieced together, providing a more complete picture of Wesley's fate. The recovered remains were finally returned to his family, allowing them to hold a proper burial service, a long overdue opportunity to mourn their loss and celebrate his life. The case of Wesley Young had far-reaching implications beyond the conviction of his killer. The illegal toxic dumping discovered by Wesley led to a wider investigation into Quinn Powell's business practices and revealed a pattern of environmental violations spanning several years. The subsequent cleanup of the contaminated caves was a costly and complex undertaking, highlighting the devastating consequences of environmental crimes. The case also served as a stark reminder of the importance of environmental protection and the crucial role that geologists and other scientists play in safeguarding our natural resources. The dedication and persistence of Marshall Wells and Professor Sterling, their unwavering commitment to uncovering the truth, became a testament to the power of collaboration and the importance of never giving up on cold cases. Their tireless efforts brought closure to a grieving family and ensured that justice, though delayed, was ultimately served. Wesley Young's legacy extended beyond his tragic death. His passion for geology, his love for the Texas Hill Country, and his commitment to environmental stewardship inspired a new generation of scientists and conservationists. His story became a cautionary tale about the dangers of greed and the importance of protecting our natural world. He was remembered not only as a victim of a senseless crime but also as a man of integrity, a devoted husband and father, and a passionate explorer who found solace in the quiet grandeur of the earth beneath his feet. His memory lived on in the hearts of his family, his friends, and the community he loved, a silent echo in the vast and mysterious depths of the Texas Hill Country.